So the second part of our sessions on group cohesion is going to focus on cohesion itself. So remember, we've built our group, so we've got to the performing stage. So now we're going to look at that role of cohesion at this point now, how we can maintain cohesion and what we need to look out for. Can we spot any cracks? And if we do see any cracks in that cohesion, what are we going to do about it? What strategies can we employ? So group cohesion, then the ability of the group to stick together. We're going to break that further into two sections. First one is task cohesion, and task cohesion is the ability of the group to achieve a common goal. All right, the ability of the group to achieve a common goal. And essentially what that means is that the group itself then is focused, it understands, it accepts the common goal, so they're all behind that common goal, and task cohesion itself is your ability to stick together in your pursuit of that goal. The second aspect we're going to look at is social cohesion. And social cohesion is the ability of the group to relate well to one another. Okay, essentially that means their ability to get on well. All right, so those are the two we're going to look at. Now, task cohesion, in order for that to be effective, you need to have good lines of communication. You need to make sure that players can interact with one another and feel comfortable in interacting with one another. And also they need to understand their specific roles within the pursuit of the goal. So what's their role within the team? What are they expected to do? Social cohesion, in order for that to be effective, ultimately it means that people need to get on. People need to feel comfortable within that group, and they need to feel comfortable to be able to say things. Now, this is quite important because at different points during a team's life, both of these will break down. And it's important to recognise actually where the priority is. The priority ultimately is within task cohesion, and that's a really, really important point that you need to be able to explain well, that task cohesion is more important than social cohesion. Now, why is it more important? Well, fundamentally, the group that works together with clear lines of communication, things are explained well, they have a clear understanding of their roles, is far more important as to whether they can get on or not. Okay? If this falls down but they get on, it doesn't really help success. And the problem with social cohesion sometimes is that people get on so well is that they're frightened to upset anybody. So it may well be that they genuinely believe that the path the group is taking is the incorrect path, that they are likely to be more unsuccessful if they follow that particular path, but they're frightened of saying anything in case they upset anybody. So it's really critical to recognise that yes, social cohesion is a bonus if people get on well together, but ultimately it is not as important as task cohesion. Now, we've talked about them actually breaking down, and at different points in a team's life they will break down, and these are known as faulty processes. And I just want to explain how those work. So it fits into, let me see that, Steiner's model. Okay, now Steiner's model said that actual productivity, so what you see a team produce is actual productivity. On game day, what do they produce? The quality with which they enact and perform the instructions they've been given and the tactics that they have been asked to produce. Now that equals potential productivity. So potential productivity is what the team is capable of producing. Okay, if they follow the instructions to the letter, if they follow the tactics to the letter, if they perform all of those to the best of their ability, that's your potential productivity. But within that, we have to take into account that there may well be faulty processes, and that's a breakdown in cohesion, a breakdown in either the task cohesion or a breakdown in the social cohesion. So actual productivity then is essentially what the team is truly capable of minus any potential issues that occur during performance. And we often see it that 1 week, and I'm sure you've played in teams like this, where 1 week everything's gone right, everything's clicked, everything's been perfect, you think right, we're set. And the next week it's almost like you're playing with a different team. Faulty process is the issue there, and this is why actual productivity can often be so unstable. So what are those faulty processes? Well, first one is known as coordination loss. And coordination loss is a fault in group organisation. Okay, so that could be poor teamwork. Okay, so players not following the instructions they should have followed, people not looking after one another, people not working for the team itself, or it could be poor tactics. And that might be that the tactics are poor, or it might be that the tactics haven't been well explained, or it might be that the tactics aren't being well executed, which fits back into the poor teamwork. So that's one faulty process. The second one, which I hope I can fit on rather than get rid of them both, is known as a motivation loss. And that is a fault in personal approach. Okay, so this could be due to, obviously we can consider a lack of motivation, but where's that lack of motivation come from? So it could be low self-esteem. Okay, the idea that actually they're not confident in what they're doing. It could be a lack of recognition. And I'm sure you've all been in those moments where you've worked incredibly hard, you felt you've done really well, and either someone else has got all the plaudits or your performance in general has just been ignored. But that then can have an adverse effect on you in the next game. You're thinking, well, kind of what's the point? So that's a motivation loss. So these are the two key faulty processes that affect potential productivity that ultimately then results in our actual productivity being a lot worse than our potential productivity. Now linked to that are two key terms, and I'm going to link them to each of the faulty processes because it just perhaps creates a bit of an association. I'm going to change my pen because this is really starting to falter a little. So with coordination loss, the term I'm going to link to this is the Ringelmann effect. Two N's at the end, the Ringelmann effect. And the Ringelmann effect effectively says that it is more difficult to coordinate a group of greater numbers. So as numbers rise within a group, it's more difficult to coordinate their performance. So what Ringelmann was saying is it's far easier to coordinate the tactics and the teamwork and the efforts of a basketball team containing 5 players compared to a rugby team containing 15. Right? Then, within motivation loss, I'd like to link the term social loafing. And social loafing is essentially when we hide within the team. Okay, and again, that can be caused by lack of recognition, a lack of motivation, low self-esteem. But I'm sure you've either, in some instances yourself, if you're being honest with yourself, or you've certainly played with players who within the game actually begin to hide. So when players are looking for a pass, for example, that particular player almost gets too close to the defender, so they can't receive the ball. They stand behind them, or they're standing in a possible situation. They might be calling and might look as though they want the ball, but actually they don't really. They're starting to loaf a bit, and actually they're not really adding much to the team. So those are two key terms that we can link to the faulty processes. So what are we going to do then in order to limit those faulty processes when we start to spot the cracks? What strategies are we going to use to overcome them? So let's start with coordination loss. So what strategies can we use to begin with? Okay, well, first one is relevant practice. In order to limit coordination loss, the team needs to overlearn the specific patterns you're expecting them to execute during a game. So with that, it always becomes second nature. Explaining specific roles within the team. Okay, so everybody understands their role within the team. So as well as collectively what you're doing as a team, actually you're, as an individual, understanding what your specific role might be. And it may well be defending, it might be, you know, scoring goals, it might be breaking up play in the middle of the pitch and passing to players with better passing ability than you. But it can be that simple, but ultimately understanding your specific roles are really, really important within that. Okay, and on top of that, you might want to consider fitness levels. The fitter a team is, the more likely are they to be able to carry out those specific instructions. Okay, and also they are liable to maintain levels of concentration to longer in the game. Maintaining stability of the team is very important. People often talk about creating partnerships in cricket, netball between goal attack and goal shoot, striking partnerships in football, halfback partnerships in rugby. So maintaining a stability, allowing individuals to learn to play together so that almost can anticipate what their partner is doing, actually will aid coordination and limit coordination loss. Okay, so those are our 4 key elements that we can use around coordination loss. What about motivation loss? Well, the most obvious one is praise and reward. Okay, absolutely critical for a coach to continue to praise and reward individuals. Remember, this is the personal approach now, not the team ethics, so the personal approach. So to praise and reward individuals, I'm going to put that on the end there to make it really clear, so we can maintain levels of self-esteem. We might give certain individuals key responsibilities. Now that could be in order to make an individual feel more involved in the situation, so given that responsibility. It could also be to other individuals within the team to make sure they keep an eye on somebody else. So as a coach with a large group, it could be quite difficult, so actually you can begin to farm out those responsibilities, as well as giving an individual a responsibility that perhaps makes them understand or realise their importance to the team. Obviously, using attributions, our old friend. So using attributions correctly are absolutely critical, you know, to make sure that if somebody does something well, that you are attributing that to ability. If they don't do something so well or they fail, then make sure you're attributing that to task difficulty or luck, never to ability. Okay, and the final thing is setting performance goals. Remember, this is part of motivation, and we know that performance goals can be used to improve motivation. It could be a process goal as well, certainly not an outcome one, but setting a performance goal for an individual, so it might be 3 shots on target, it might be get 4 crosses over, it might be getting 5 tackles, 4 interceptions this quarter. So by setting those, focusing the mind, increasing motivation, limiting the amount of social loafing that may take place. And those are the strategies that we might use to maintain cohesion.